Hello everyone, and welcome to Subnarrator. Before we dive into today's story, I need to take a quick moment. We've noticed the channel is losing a little steam, and you, the community, are the best way to keep this engine running. Subscribing is quick, it's completely free, and it's the single best way you can help us continue bringing you these incredible real-life dramas. Your support is everything. Please hit that button. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Thank you so much. Now, let's begin the video. Part 1. The Invisible Wall. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. My name is Sarah. I'm 38 female, and if there is one thing I've learned, it's that being the invisible child in a family of performers is the best training for becoming a quiet millionaire. I need to get this off my chest. Life was typical until I was 8. I was an only child, and while my parents weren't exactly a hug-and-cuddle type, they were present. Mom helped with homework, and Dad occasionally took me fishing on Lake St. Clair. We were fine. Then came the night that would change everything. I recall my Aunt Kelly showing up at 2 a.m. and telling me to pack a suitcase because Mom was in the hospital. My sister, Rachel, was on her way, but something was wrong. She wasn't meant to arrive for another 2 months. The following weeks were a painful flurry of hushed consultations and hospital visits. Rachel was tiny, frail. She looked like one of my porcelain dolls, but covered in tubes and monitors. That was the first time I felt it. An invisible, protective wall forming between me and the rest of my family. When they finally brought Rachel home, our house didn't become a family unit. It turned into a sterilized bubble. Mom developed an absolute obsession with germs. I'm talking industrial-strength disinfection, hand sanitizer stations in every single room, and constant, frantic cleaning. The harsh, metallic odor of bleach still causes me distress to this day. But here is the bit that truly defined my childhood: the exile. Whenever I showed the slightest symptom of illness, a sneeze, a sniffle, a mild cough, I was instantly whisked off to either Grandma Marie's or Aunt Kelly's house. Sneeze once, pack your bags. At first, I thought it was a treat. Grandma Marie would make her famous sugar cookies, and Aunt Kelly had an entire collection of Nancy Drew books that I was working my way through. But children aren't stupid. After a while, you understand. You are not being sent away on a grand adventure. You are being handled as a threat. As if your entire existence, your perfectly functioning immune system, could somehow compromise the existence of your beloved, fragile sister. I desperately tried to gain their attention in healthier ways. I got straight A's. Mom would barely look up from charting Rachel's latest doctor's appointments. I won first prize in the regional science fair for a project on renewable energy. Dad just asked if I could store the display board in the garage because Rachel is allergic to cardboard dust. Is that even a thing? The real, sharp kick to the gut came when I was 12. For months, I had been secretly practicing for the school talent show, teaching myself to play Bridge Over Troubled Water on the piano. I know, a little too on the nose. The night of the show, Rachel had a 99.1 degrees Fahrenheit fever, a temperature that required an emergency trip to the pharmacy and 2 hours of monitoring. Guess who performed her heart out to an audience consisting solely of a janitor and the principal? Meanwhile, 2 weeks later, the entire family, both sets of grandparents included, attended Rachel's 15-minute flute recital, during which she essentially murdered hot cross buns. Rachel quickly learned how to work the system. By the age of 7, she had mostly outgrown her real health issues, but that didn't stop her. Headache. Must stay home from school. Feeling tired? Someone else should perform her chores. Worried about a test? Mom would literally call the school to have the deadline extended. I retreated to my room. It became my sanctuary, mostly because Rachel claimed she was allergic to my lavender air freshener, so it was the one place she wouldn't go. In that room, I immersed myself in books about art history and antiques. And you know what? When she pretended to be sick, a part of me felt a twisted gratitude. At least I'd be sent to Grandma Marie's, where someone would ask about my day or be interested in what I was reading. Grandma was the one who sparked my interest in vintage jewelry. She had an incredible collection of costume pieces that she let me organize and catalog. I suppose I should have regarded it as prophetic. The worst part wasn't the blatant favoritism. It was how they rewrote history to excuse their cruelty. Asterisk. Rachel just needs more attention because she had such a rough start. Asterisk asterisk. Sarah's always been so independent. Asterisk asterisk. Sarah understands that her sister has special needs. Asterisk no. I didn't understand. I was a child who didn't understand why having a good immune system made me less deserving of love. But the persistent message that I was somehow unsafe or inconvenient taught me to be self-sufficient. When no one checks your homework or cares about your triumphs, you quickly learn to be your own loudest, most reliable cheerleader. Part 2. The Golden Ticket. High school. Most people hate it. I saw it as a golden ticket out. While Rachel was establishing her drama empire, I was laying the groundwork for my own escape. Nothing inspires overachievement like knowing no one will do it for you. Remember those hours sorting Grandma Marie's jewelry? That experience instilled in me a need for systematic organization and ruthless attention to detail. In high school, my approach to academics resembled something out of an organization magazine. Color-coded notes, meticulously organized study plans, everything in its place. Rachel teased me mercilessly, calling me Rainman. Fine, but here's the thing about being invisible. No one is monitoring your failures or successes, so you can do whatever the heck you want. I joined every club that wouldn't interfere with my part-time job at Carson's Diner. Thank you, Carol, the owner, for remembering my birthday when my own parents forgot. Debate team captain? Check. National Honor Society president? Check. Editor-in-chief of the school newspaper? Check. The debate team was where I truly found my voice. There's something deeply satisfying about absolutely shattering someone's ill-formed argument while maintaining complete composure. It taught me how to negotiate and how to build an airtight case. Skills I didn't realize at the time, but which would become crucial later. I won states twice. Both times, my parents were unable to attend because, as Dad put it, Rachel has major soccer games. She was on the C team. She didn't even play the game. Junior year was when the ultimate shift happened. I took the SATs and received a flawless score. Not pretty good. Perfect. A 1600. Asterisk asterisk. I stared at the results screen for 20 minutes, convinced it was a glitch. I rushed home, bursting with the need to tell my parents, and immediately realized my mistake. Mom was in the kitchen, helping Rachel with her English homework. Mom, look, I got a perfect SAT score, I said, holding out the printout. Mom barely glanced up. That's nice, honey. But can you keep it down? Rachel's trying to concentrate. She has a big test tomorrow. Rachel whined. Yeah, Mom. Some of us actually have to study, Miss Perfect. Mom stroked Rachel's hair. Rachel, sweetie, don't stress. You're just a different kind of learner. I still have the hard copy of those SAT results somewhere. Never got pinned to the fridge. But Rachel's C+ in English? That infant received primo refrigerator real estate, complete with a "we're so proud of you" magnet. College and the escape. The college application process was a stealth operation. I applied to 15 schools without telling anyone. I wrote every essay, gathered every recommendation, and handled all the FAFSA paperwork myself. My guidance counselor, Mr. Chun, was the true MVP. The acceptances started rolling in. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Michigan. Each one came with a scholarship offer. I stored them all in a locked box under my bed, knowing what a nightmare Rachel would throw if she discovered them. Asterisk, but if Sarah goes to Harvard, I'll be all alone. Asterisk, or some equally self-centered nonsense. The day I received my full-ride offer from the University of Michigan, Rachel joined the JV cheerleading squad. Guess which one was celebrated with a family feast? Hint. I had microwave mac and cheese in my room while they went to Olive Garden. But the scholarship was my golden ticket. Full tuition, lodging, board, book allowance. I could finally leave. The day I received my acceptance package, I went to my favorite spot, a fourth-floor window seat at the public library, and cried for an hour. They weren't sad tears. They were tears of relief. When I finally told my parents at dinner that I was going to U of M, they were less than thrilled. Michigan? But that's so far. What if Rachel needs you? Mom replied, and I hope you're not expecting us to help with expenses. Rachel's cheerleading competitions are very costly. Rachel, sensing the dramatic moment, cried, "Oh my God! Finally! Can I have your room? I need space for my TikTok videos." The summer before college, I worked double shifts at Carson's Diner to save money. Carol, bless her heart, gave me extra tips and taught me a vital skill: how to spot genuine people in a world full of fakes. "Sweetheart," she tell me, asterisk, in diners and in life, the ones making the most noise usually have the least to say. Asterisk. Move-in day. My parents couldn't attend because, surprise, Rachel had a cheerleading competition. Aunt Kelly drove me instead, helped me set up my dorm room, and gave me a $500 envelope. "Your Grandma Marie wanted you to have this," she whispered. "She's so proud of you." I later learned Grandma had been saving that money from her Social Security checks for months. That first night in my dorm, looking out at the sprawling campus, I made a solemn promise. I was going to build a life so wonderful that being overlooked would be inconceivable. Not for vengeance, but for that 8-year-old girl who used to get sent to Grandma's house just for sneezing. Part 3. The $47,000 brooch. College passed in a blur of all-nighters, instant ramen, and glorious, heavenly independence. I graduated summa cum laude from the University of Michigan. Not that my folks noticed. They were too busy helping Rachel transfer to her third college in 2 years. This is where the plot takes the unexpected turn. I got an entry-level job at Everett and Phillips Auction House in Detroit. Not the real name, but if you're in the luxury goods business, you know who I mean. A genuine high-end establishment with old-money clients and multi-million-dollar transactions. I started in their estate sales business, documenting the belongings of deceased, wealthy individuals. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. My first few months were standard, logging countless china sets, categorizing vintage furniture, and a sea of what everyone assumed was costume jewelry. Then came the Kingston estate. Mrs. Kingston was an elderly widow who had died with no children, leaving behind what everyone assumed was a colossal collection of costume pieces. Hundreds of boxes. This is where those endless hours at Grandma Marie's organizing trays of vintage trinkets suddenly became relevant. I was sifting through a stack of jewelry when something snagged my attention. It was a small Art Deco brooch. Nothing flashy, but something about it felt different. The weight was too substantial for costume jewelry. The clasping mechanism was too complex, too refined for a copycat. I spent my entire lunch break that day researching obscure old jewelry markers and signatures. I stayed late to use the company's membership to several antique jewelry databases. The more I looked, the more certain I became. This was not costume jewelry. This was the real thing. Asterisk asterisk. The problem was, I was the new girl. Nobody would believe me if I claimed we had a potential treasure on our hands. So, I did what the debate team taught me. I meticulously prepared my argument. I spent 2 weeks using lunch breaks and evenings learning everything I could about Art Deco jewelry authentication. I even dipped into my pitiful savings to pay for an online gemology course. Finally, I mustered the guts to approach my boss, Mr. Harrison. I brought the entire presentation. Comparative images, historical documentation, and the works. Sir, I think we might have something significant in the Kingston collection, I stated, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. Harrison barely glanced up from his phone. Sarah, we've already cataloged those as costume pieces. I know, sir, but look at these maker marks, I insisted, pointing to a magnified photo. They match perfectly with Cartier's 1925 signatures for a limited European run. Harrison finally put his phone down. He looked at the evidence, then at me. Where did you learn all of this? My response was a simple, confident shrug. I did some research. Long story short, the costume brooch sold at auction $4.47,000. It turned out to be part of an exclusive, limited collection. Harrison started to trust me. He began giving me other artifacts to authenticate. Suddenly, my pointless childhood pastime had genuine professional significance. My commission checks became larger. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was actually saving money. But the family? They remained remarkably uninterested. At Sunday dinners, which I, like a fool, still attended, the discourse went like this. Asterisk mom. Sarah's still at that antique shop, right? Asterisk me. Auction house. And yes, I just authenticated a rare Tiffany piece. Asterisk Rachel interrupts. Oh my God, speaking of jewelry, you guys have to see this charm bracelet I bought at the mall. Is it real silver, Mom? Asterisk. I didn't care anymore. For once, I had discovered something wholly mine, something I was genuinely excellent at, something unrelated to being Rachel's sister. Part 4. The Kung Pao Chicken Office. 2 years into my employment, the Rothschild collection arrived. Massive. Old money. Huge industry buzz. I was part of the jewelry cataloging team, and that's when I saw it. A seemingly common Art Nouveau piece everyone else overlooked. I spent 3 days investigating it, barely sleeping. It turned out to be a piece from a famous French jeweler, part of a private collection thought to have been lost during World War II. When it sold at auction $4.238,000, Harrison summoned me to his office. I expected a promotion. Instead, he said something that changed everything. Sarah, you're wasting your talent here. You should be running your own authentication business. Initially, I shrugged it off. Asterisk me? Start a business? With what money? Asterisk, but the idea took root. I started doing modest freelance authentication projects on the side. Word spread that I had an uncanny eye for missed treasure. One night, sitting in my apartment, surrounded by jewelry manuals, I had an epiphany. I could actually do this. I could build something entirely on my own. I took a large loan against my car. I emptied my savings account. I rented a tiny office space in the least desirable area of downtown. It was a storage room above a Chinese restaurant, about the size of a college dorm. The rent was low because it perpetually smelled like Kung Pao chicken, and the Wi-Fi only worked if you sat by the window. But it was mine. The first few months were terrifying. I'd wake up at 4 a.m. with cold sweats, calculating how many months I had left before my savings, and my nerve ran out. My office furniture was a Goodwill card table and a chair I literally found on the curb, and thoroughly sanitized. However, in high-end jewelry, reputation and contacts are everything. My experience at the auction house gave me both. 6 months later, the watershed moment occurred. A major dealer inquired about a collection of Victorian-era brooches. I worked on it for 2 straight weeks and discovered 2 extremely rare pieces that had been misinterpreted as modern replicas. The owner was so delighted that she offered me a 10% commission when the piece sold. That commission was $86,000, more money than I had earned in the preceding 2 years combined. Suddenly, my phone rang constantly. Private collectors heard about my knack for finding missed pieces. Estate lawyers sought my advice. Even my previous auction house started sending me work. Thanks, Harrison. By year 2, I'd hired my first employee, Jenny, a quiet, brilliant gemology graduate. She is now my head of authentication and is worth her weight in gold. The firm expanded faster than I could have predicted. We moved to a proper office downtown. Goodbye, Kung Pao chicken odor. Success came with its own challenge. Keeping it a secret, the bigger we became, the harder it was to hide from my family. They still thought I worked in an antique shop. Rachel. Sarah, I have some old jewelry I was going to donate to Goodwill. Maybe your little shop would want it. Me, having just authenticated a $1.2 million Faberge item that morning. Sure, I'll look into it. The irony was delicious. I'd sit at Sunday dinner in my purposefully chosen Target discount outfit, actually tailored cashmere, listening to Rachel ramble about her entry-level marketing job, knowing I had closed a deal that morning for more than her annual income. I even started wearing authentic Harry Winston pieces to family gatherings just to see if anyone noticed. They never did. By year 5, we had established offices in Detroit, Chicago, and New York. I was spending more time on planes than in my own bed. We had cornered the Midwest high-end jewelry authentication industry. The money was enormous. We had financial advisors and a security system that would make Fort Knox envious. The irony reached absurd levels. They believed I was being frugal by aiding them. Mom would say, "It's so sweet of Sarah to help out. She must be eating nothing but ramen to manage it." Meanwhile, I had just signed a contract that earned me a commission larger than their mortgage. The double life. The cognitive dissonance was becoming ludicrous. I'd spend my mornings on conference calls with collectors in Dubai, my afternoons authenticating 7-figure pieces, and my evenings at my parents' house in carefully chosen normal clothes, eating Mom's overcooked pot roast while Rachel dominated the conversation. Around this time, the anonymous transfers began. Aunt Kelly mentioned they were struggling to pay Rachel's never-ending educational loans and medical bills. I couldn't bear to see them lose the house. I initiated an anonymous monthly transfer of $5,000 to their account. When asked, I claimed I was contributing $1,000 by living on rice and beans, and they assumed the rest came from Aunt Kelly. Rachel, of course, claimed responsibility for inspiring the family to help. The support money was helpful, but Rachel's spending became more extravagant. She'd show up with new expensive bags, claiming they were outlet finds. They weren't. I could recognize a genuine Gucci at 20 paces. Then came the MBA drama. Rachel announced she wanted to go back to school for her MBA. Another private university, naturally. Mom called me in tears. "Oh, honey, you don't understand," Mom wailed. "Your sister needs to maintain certain standards. We can't afford it." I sighed. Maybe Rachel could look at state schools? They have great programs, too. "No!" Mom shrieked. "But speaking of assisting, can you increase your monthly contribution for a few years?" I increased it to $7,000 per month. My accounts were unaffected, but watching them praise Rachel's initiative while assuming I was living in self-imposed poverty to support her, that stung. The actual kicker. I was invited to give a guest seminar at the very business school Rachel wanted to attend. The dean personally invited me to lecture on luxury goods authenticity and business growth. I had to concoct an elaborate excuse to miss Sunday dinner that week. My own success felt like a hidden life, a separate, powerful identity. Part 5. The reveal at Thanksgiving. I always knew the truth would implode dramatically. I just didn't expect it to happen so spectacularly on Thanksgiving. 2 weeks before the holiday, Mom called, weeping about a herniated disc. The thought of cooking for 20 guests overwhelmed her. Tired of pretending her dried turkey was appetizing, I offered to take over. "Why don't I handle the food this year? I can have it catered." Mom, ever concerned about the appearance of their struggle. "Oh, honey, we can't afford a caterer." "Don't worry about the costs, Mom. I've been saving up," I replied. I coordinated everything with a high-end catering firm I used for business gatherings. It cost more than my folks thought I earned in 6 months, but I didn't care. Thanksgiving morning arrived. I had my laptop with me because I needed to monitor a major online auction in Hong Kong. A magnificent Art Nouveau necklace was selling, and my client needed authentication support if they won the bid. The catering lunch arrived perfectly. Rachel, of course, had to object. "Store-bought stuffing, really, Sarah? Mom's is so much better." This is from the girl who once set off the smoke alarm making toast. But Rachel eventually shut up after tasting the maple-glazed Brussels sprouts, which, incidentally, cost more per plate than her weekly grocery budget. I stepped away from dinner to check my laptop. The auction was getting intense. I set up in my old bedroom, which Mom had kept exactly the same since high school. Meanwhile, Rachel's room had undergone 3 renovations. I left my authentication program running with multiple tabs open, displaying various accounts and contracts. That's when Rachel walked in without knocking. Some things never change. She came in to borrow my phone charger, but her eyes immediately locked onto the laptop screen. I saw the smirk form. This was her chance to finally expose her older sister's pathetic antique transactions. "Oh, looky here," Rachel drawled, snatching my laptop. "Let's see what kind of important work Sarah's doing on Thanksgiving." She marched triumphantly into the dining room. Picture this. 20 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, and my parents, all filled with gourmet turkey, half drunk on expensive wine they mistook for $2 chuck. Rachel flipped the laptop around, intending to humiliate me with some minor antique sale. The room went absolutely silent. You could hear the fancy clock I had bought Mom for Christmas ticking on the mantel. She thought it was a reproduction. Displayed clearly on the screen were several tabs. Asterisk current account balance. $12 for 19,000.00. Asterisk pending authentication contract. New York $485,000. Asterisk recent transaction. Hong Kong auction $1,200,000. Asterisk company's quarterly profit report. $4.20 million. Rachel's face cycled through 5 different emotions in 3 seconds, landing on a sickly blend of astonishment and nausea. She actually swayed. This can't be right," Rachel whispered, her voice cracking. She's rich." If possible, the hush deepened. Then Mom started to giggle, a high-pitched hysterical sound. "Don't be silly. Sarah works at that little antique shop." I rose carefully, smoothing out the cashmere sweater I had purposely worn for its subtle appearance. "It cost more than their monthly mortgage payment." "Yes, actually, Mom," I said, my voice calm, but resonating through the silence. "I own one of the largest jewelry authentication companies in the country. For years. That little business you never asked about? It has offices in 3 cities, and I authenticate pieces worth millions." Dad choked violently on his liquor. Aunt Kelly dropped her fork. Then, Mom's giggle transformed into a scream. Her face went red, then purple. She stood up so quickly her chair tumbled over. "You have $12 million and you let us struggle?" she shrieked. "Struggle?" I shot back. "I send you $7,000 every single month. While sitting on millions. Your sister has student loans," she yelled. "Instead of congratulations or wow, we're proud. There was only outrage that I hadn't given them more. Rachel started to sob, demanding to know exactly how much money I had stolen from the family. Dad joined in. "How could you be so selfish, Sarah? We're your parents. We raised you." That was the breaking point. Years of being disregarded, the missed milestones, the constant comparisons, it all poured out. "Raised me?" I challenged, stepping closer to the table. "You shipped me off to Grandma's every time I sneezed. You missed every award, every achievement, every milestone because Rachel might feel left out. You never saved a penny for my college, but took out loans for her private school. And now you're mad that I built something for myself without you?" The next 5 minutes were absolute chaos. Mom screamed about family obligation, Dad yelled about ungrateful children, and Rachel wailed. Meanwhile, the fancy catering team stood frozen, attempting to serve the cheesecake while looking utterly traumatized. I grabbed my laptop, picked up my Hermes bag, which Mom had once complimented as a nice replica, and walked out. Behind me, I could hear Mom already discussing how to spend my money. Something about Rachel's MBA and a new car. As I drove home in my sensible, limited edition BMW, my phone started exploding. The family group chat burst. Rachel had already begun posting on Facebook about hidden family wealth and selfish siblings. Part 6. The Debris of Sanity. The days after Thanksgiving were like watching a slow-motion cyclone. The debris was my sanity, and the cyclone was my family. Within an hour of leaving, my phone had 47 missed calls and over 200 messages. Mom's texts followed a fascinating progression. 7:42 p.m. "How dare you walk out on family?" 8:15 p.m. "We need to talk about this like adults." 9:03 p.m. "Your sister deserves a share of your success." 10:30 p.m. "I've already called a realtor about houses in better neighborhoods." 11:45 p.m. "Why aren't you answering? This is your mother." Rachel, meanwhile, had gone full social media warrior. She posted an enormous rant on Facebook about how her millionaire sister had been hoarding wealth while watching her beloved family struggle. The comments section was a firestorm, but this is the part that truly made me nearly throw my phone. Rachel actually posted, "All those years of me trying to help Sarah's career, giving her advice about moving up from that little antique shop, and she was secretly wealthy. The betrayal hurt so much. The only career advice she ever gave me was suggesting I try selling jewelry on Etsy." The flying monkeys arrived next. Aunt Susan, whom I saw maybe once every 3 years, called to inform me that family is everything. Uncle Bob emailed a lengthy lecture on the importance of sharing wealth. The real fun began on Monday when Mom, Dad, and Rachel showed up at my downtown office. They informed Jenny, my receptionist, that they had an appointment for authentication services. Rachel clutched her Michael Kors bag like it was a genuine Faberge egg. The meeting went precisely as expected. Mom. "We've discussed it as a family, without you of course, and we think it's only fair that you set up trust funds for everyone. Rachel. I need at least $2 million to start my new life properly. Dad. And your mother and I would like to retire. We're thinking a beach house in Florida. Did you miss the part where I've been sending you $7,000 monthly?" I asked, my voice dangerously even. "That's nothing compared to what you have. You owe us." Rachel hissed. "I owe you for what exactly?" I stood up. The years of being ignored, the missed graduations, the constant comparisons. "Don't be dramatic, Sarah. We gave you everything." Mom yelled. "No," I countered. I gave myself everything. And you know what? I'm done. Right there, in my own office lobby, I pulled out my phone and canceled the monthly transfers to their account. Mom gasped as if I'd slapped her. Rachel's fake crying performance quickly dissolved when she realized it wasn't working. They refused to leave, so I called building security. Seeing my 60-year-old mother being dragged out while shrieking about ungrateful children was profoundly surreal. I had their names placed on the building's do not admit list. The harassment lasted for weeks. New phone numbers, fake email addresses, even attempts to contact me through my company's customer service line. I finally issued a formal legal notice threatening harassment charges. Mom then played her final card. She called Grandma Marie to get back. Grandma Marie's response? Good for Sarah. It's about time someone in this family succeeded on their own terms. Mom didn't speak to her for 2 months after that. It has been 6 months since Thanksgiving. I've relocated to a new home with better security and changed all my numbers. The company is doing better than ever. Turns out, my family drama attracted several high-profile clients who respected my caution and discretion in the circumstance. Rachel continues to post passive-aggressive updates about toxic wealth and family betrayal. Mom and Dad finally stopped trying to contact me when my lawyer wrote them an official letter outlining the legal consequences of their harassment. They're now telling everyone they never wanted my money anyway and are praying for my salvation. The best part? For the first time in my life, I feel completely liberated. No more Sunday dinners full of sly insults. No more downplaying my accomplishments to spare their feelings. No longer financing the Rachel show. My therapist thinks I am finally establishing healthy boundaries. I say I am finally living authentically. So, that is my story, Reddit. Thanks for letting me share it. Edit. Responses to common questions. Yes, I am still in therapy. No, I do not regret cutting them off. Yes, Grandma Marie is doing well. She's coming to visit next month to help me catalog a new collection. One last thing to Rachel. I know you're probably reading this. That Cartier bracelet you're wearing in your most recent Instagram post? Definitely a fake. Just saying. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking, real-life stories happening around.